All right, so if you couldn't tell, I'm already at the church. My truck AC was being fixed. I just got the call that it's done, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But it's a cloudy day, it's beautiful. I'm excited. Today we're talking about service. And not just any service, but serving in this building and why it's important. All right, so you might be asking yourself, do we really need to talk about this? Right? Isn't it just implied that if you're a Christian, you should serve some way in your local church? I'd say yes, but I think it's even more than that. Since really the church begun, really since Jesus walked this earth, there's been this connection between serving your brothers and sisters in Christ and being a Christian. That these two things are not just something that you should do, but they are a responsibility of all believers to serve one another in some way, shape, or form. In the book of Acts, when the ministers of the word, people that, you would say the pastors of the churches, were having trouble keeping up with giving people their daily breads, when widows were being looked over and people were being looked over, they implemented what we now call a deacon, a person to handle the physical needs of the church. And so those people were put into place, and they were literally referred to as table waiters, which I think is a great image for what that role and responsibility, what the responsibility of a deacon is. But as the church has continued to grow, the needs have continued to grow with it. And so it is not just a you should do this, it is, as a Christian, it is your responsibility to serve within the church. Later, Paul, even talking about spiritual gifts in the book of 1 Corinthians, straight up says that you are given these gifts to serve one another. And so when we think about our passions, when we think about being a part of a body, it's almost as if we're part of a family, that we all have roles and responsibilities that we not just should do, but that we are responsible to. And so it's not just something that we should do, but it is important that we fulfill these roles. All right, now that we've made the connection between following Jesus and serving in the local body, I wanted to kind of give you a couple questions to maybe consider as you're thinking about how you might be able to serve in the local body. The first one is, where does the church have need? Right? I think this is a very important question to ask, because a lot of times we can get caught up on the areas that we really want to serve in, and that might not be a place of need necessarily. If you've been in a church long enough, I'm sure you've been asked to know or to serve in probably a children's ministry. And to think about this, that's a place of high need within any body, specifically this one too. We have 0 to 17-year-olds if you include youth ministry. That's a wide range of ages, it's a wide range of mental capacities, and so they require a variety of different teachers who can meet those specific needs. Now, if maybe you don't want to be a teacher, then think about serving possibly in the younger ages, where you're not necessarily required to have a lesson, or you're not expected to have a lesson, or go up into the older ages and be more of an aide, right? My sponsors, when it comes to the youth group, don't necessarily have to teach lessons on a lot of the times, but they are asked to build relationships. They are asked to interact with students. They are asked to participate in games sometimes. And so that might be an area that you're willing to serve in. Another place might be the building and grounds. Like, this building gets used a lot, like a lot of churches do. And because of that, there's maintenance, there's drywall patching, there's painting, there's things like that that need to be done. And if you're willing to do that and there's a need there, then why not serve in that area? The second question that I would ask you to consider is, where are you already using resources? Going back to the children's ministry, I think this is a great place to start. If you have kids in children's ministry, then figuring out a way to serve in that capacity would be a very good place to start, because you already have skin in the game. You already have involvement there with your kids being involved there. And you're also using resources by having your kids in those programs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But finding a way to serve that ministry would be a great place to start. If you have good singing capacities or something like that, because you get to experience worship, then maybe consider how you might be able to be involved with that. Or it could be creative arts. Maybe you're somebody who takes advantage of streaming when we start getting that going. Figuring out a way that when you are present, how you can help in that ministry. That would be a great way to think, a question to ask about, man, where are some areas that I'm already utilizing and I like to utilize, and I could serve in those capacities as well so that other people could utilize those same things. The last question that I'd have you consider is, where are your passions? Most people start here, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But sometimes our passions and what the church needs or the resources that we use don't always line up. And so that's kind of why I chose to end with this question. What are your passions? You might be a photographer, have experience making videos, which the time that we're in, those are great resources to have. And so how can you utilize those to come alongside the church and help with them? You might have experience in construction or maintenance. And so, man, that could be a passion. And sometimes that's a job, I get it. But that might be a passion that you could utilize for the church. You might be crafty, right? Instead of maybe a craftsman, maybe you're just crafty in the sense that you're good at building things, you're good at putting things together, you're good at making things look nice. Those are passions, those are things that can be utilized to help the church. And so consider these three questions. What needs, what area am I already utilizing, resources am I already utilizing, and what are my passions? I think when we consider those questions under the truth that serving is an essential part of being a Christian or following Jesus, I think we begin to live not just for Christ, but even in that gospel message and understand the joy of that even more than we already did. Think about it. Jesus, before he left this earth, took time to serve his disciples by washing their feet. What a great act of love that he gave, and it is a great act of love when we decide to serve our local body. Grace and peace, family. I love you.